Okay, so the what I just told Jane that you Rusty, you and I started this conversation, in Telegram, and I wanted to expand a little bit on it and sort of capture it in on a Zoom call because it's something that I think is very far-reaching. Okay, so we have a normal tendency on a day-to-day work to focus on our to-do list, the things we need to get done, and we tend to write them out as a to-do list. And I do that all the time. I'm just like anybody else. I make my to-do list, okay? But that's not the most powerful way to work. It's not the most effective and most powerful way to work, okay? Yes, we have tasks. Yes, we have to get them done. Yes, it's valuable to have lists of our tasks. All those things are practical, useful things. But what got highlighted or illuminated with Russi and I in our conversation was this idea of not focusing on the task, but focusing on the outcome, on the desired
Yeah,
outcome, not the task. Okay.
I love that. Yeah.
So, and Russi, you did a really great job converting that
Well,
from tasks. We had a whole list of tasks with today, and I gave her the
I
exercise
thought
right
I thought you get
right
mad.
as outcomes, and she did a brilliant job in just a matter of like just a few minutes. She did a great job converting it. Okay.
I thought you get mad.
No, no, get mad? No, why would I
Yeah,
get mad? You did it, didn't you? I mean, you rewrote the items, didn't you?
yeah. Thank you so much for that,
Now,
Howard. And
my question, Rossi, my question to you is, and this is important to pay attention to this. We're talking here about attention and intention to see the power of those words and how they can use. When you shifted gears, when you had the first list, which was tasks, right? And then when you shifted over and you rewrote the list as a list of outcomes, what changed inside of you? What shifted? What was the experience like? When you did that? Tell me. Tell us.
like, it's not just about an activity for me though. Like it's like I am looking forward for what would be the outcome. So
Right.
yeah,
Exactly. Now,
and
exactly. Now, what is the difference? And this is the hard thing I want to highlight. What's the difference between putting your attention on the task as compared with putting your attention on the outcome? What's the difference there? So it's say more, say
what
more, a little
Howard?
bit more about that. Let's, Rossi, what do you see as the difference there?
It's a big difference though. So for me, like putting my attention to task is more on focusing on what would be that I need to be done. So when it comes to putting intention, right, the word intention, so it's more on like yeah, the same with the word outcomes of the task like
Right,
that. Yeah.
exactly. So, exactly, excellent. So, the general principle here that we sort of can rewind backwards a tiny bit. The actual core principle is that where we put our attention is where we put our creative energy in life. Where we put our attention is where we put our creative energy in life. Okay. There is nothing more powerful than our attention in terms of creating day to day, like whatever we create day to day. So the minute you shift attention from the task to the outcome, you've already profoundly altered the energy and the result of what can happen during this day. You see what I mean? You've already done that, and it's a very subtle and minor kind of change, and yet it's a profound change. And then you multiply that by day after day after day after day, where you're putting all your attention on outcomes every day, your productivity just goes through the roof, right? Because you're focusing on the end result. And in business, or in life in general, but in business particularly, we're wanting a result. And when we put attention on the desired result, then we have 1,000 times greater probability of achieving that result. Okay. And I used this sort of funny example a few minutes ago of let's say your job was to do outbound sales calls and you were setting targets, you were setting goals or targets. What would be more powerful, putting setting targets on the number of phone calls you made or the number of conversations that you've had with people, right? So obviously conversations is the real outcome. And you could dial the number. We used to have a dial phone, so we call it dialing. Uh, years ago, there was a dial phone. Anyway, but you get the idea, okay? So
Yes.
what I would like, Rossi, what I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to share with on Telegram, I'd like for you to share with Jane your first list of tasks, how you wrote the first list of tasks. And I want you to send that to her. Yeah, please send that to her, okay? And then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want you to send her your second version with the outcomes, but send her the one that I edited because I put
Yeah,
a
that's
slight little
the spacing.
space.
The
Yeah, so
spacing. Yeah.
it's more readable. Send her that so she could see a very dramatic example of what we're talking about here. Okay, does that sound good?
Okay, that really sounds good though. So I have a
Yes,
question,
well, you
Howard.
see, you see. Now let's talk about something that's just a tiny bit a tiny bit more macro in nature. So we begin the day, we're beginning a new work day. It's a clean slate. It's a new opportunity. We're able to create, anything we want in the day. Okay. So we can create as individual outcomes. Like we can say, here's one outcome with bots. Here's an outcome with posting. Here's an outcome with marketing or such and such. We can pick all these different areas and we can pick an outcome, a desired outcome that we want to achieve for today, specifically for today in those areas. And that's fantastic. That's powerful. But then there is a slightly larger context, which is a broader idea of what is my overarching or overall intention for today? What is it that I want today to really be? And that allows your attention and intention to align together but in a more of a global, more of a Sagittarian type of way, like a bigger picture, you see the bigger lens, okay? Um, so, to give a couple examples, my intention for today is to make a significant expansion in our posts on visibility on in the Facebook group to increase visibility or increase engagement today in the Facebook group. I'm just giving an example, right? Or our intention for today is to achieve, much more responses on XYZ or whatever it may be. Okay. So these, and I want you to practice. This is a good skill. It's actually a skill that you can practice. So as you practice more and more about, turning tasks into outcomes for when you target your day and when you summarize the end of your day, you can you can indicate all the specific intended intended outcomes and then what were your actual outcomes for the day. So intended outcomes at the beginning of the day and then actual outcomes at the end of the day. You see how beautiful that is? So you see the actual outcomes, you see, well, how close did I get to my targets? You can have a check mark. So you can say, yeah, I achieved this, and these were all done. These are partially done, but incomplete, need to be done more tomorrow. You see, so you're getting like a scorecard, a very honest, and very revealing scorecard of how you did today, right? And a lot of times people don't want to see the actual real results of the day. They want to keep it blurry because they're afraid that they're not doing a good job or their boss may not be happy with them or who knows, whatever their various reasons. But look how powerful it is to let go of that fear and simply tell the truth to yourself. Of course, always first to yourself and then tell the truth to others, right? You get the general idea. So I want both of you to start each day with an intention for the day, like a general overall intention for the day. And there is no right intention or wrong intention. It's just your intention. It's whatever you want your intention to be. So it's all made up. It's just your own made up thing. I'm not going to come back and say, oh, this is a bad intention. No, because you're the one creating it. You're the one creating it. Then once you've defined the overarching intention for the day, then you can go in and identify the list of outcomes of your targeted outcomes for today. Okay. And I want you to do that at the beginning of each workday. Then at the end of each workday, you can make a comment about the intention if you like. That's optional. And then a report on what is the status of your distinct outcomes. You know, what happened, which outcomes got achieved, which outcomes got partially achieved, which outcomes didn't get achieved at all are and will be continued in the next day. That sort of thing. Okay. So it's a matter of a real I would call it almost almost a form of radical honesty. Okay, it's a form of radical honesty that few people have, that few people use, because they're people are mostly very fearful and they don't trust themselves, right? And they don't trust themselves and they don't trust that they're going to get anything done. So by blurring the image, they think oh well, I'm going to get away with this because he won't notice, because I'll just talk, in generalities or very whatever, blur the image or something, and then he won't know or she won't know. And that's of course dishonest, if you really, are you're super honest with yourself. Now, what this allows you to do is to become very honest about your own productivity level and honest about where you're putting your attention and what strategy you're using. Is it working or is it not? What adjustments do I need to make in my strategy or plan or focus of attention in order to get the larger overarching results that I'm looking for? You see, so by having the ability to self-reflect, you see what I mean? You're self-reflecting, which means your own internal feedback loop. Instead of just having a feedback loop with Howard or a feedback loop with, whatever, you have your own feedback loop and you're able to say, oh, I used this method and I got a sort of okay result, but I think I can do better tomorrow if I do it this way, or if I use more of that and less of that. See, so when you give me a report like that, and you're showing me that you're doing your own self-assessment on your own results, on your own productivity, on how you're doing, and on based on your standards, not mine, but based on your standards. And then you're showing me that you're not 100% happy with the results based on your standards, and you're going to make a change because you want to do better tomorrow. Wow. I mean, that's the greatest gift you can give me, because then I see you're taking responsibility for every aspect and every result, and you're a self-improvement, you're in a self-improvement, self-empowerment uh you know uh mode. You're spinning and you're soaring on the spiral. Now in life crafting, we use this expression called the confidence success spiral. Have you ever heard that term? I have a really cool graphic. I'll send you, it's a really cool graphic. It was created like 30 years ago or some insane amount of time ago, but we developed it ages ago. And in fact, when I used to do live events many decades ago, we used to have these big posters in the room, and we put them up on the wall and all that. Anyway, I'll send you the graphic of the confidence success spiral. And the idea, of course, is that every little baby step that you complete, you get, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, you get a boost of confidence at a subconscious level. Okay. You may not notice it. It may seem rather subtle, but it isn't though. See, because the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a big result or a tiny baby step. It cannot because it only records the feeling, the underlying feeling that's there. Okay. So if you do 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 super tiny baby steps and you achieve every single one of them, what's the net result? The net result is huge. It's huge. Okay. And the baby steps add up to a giant result, the giant result.
I
And
I
and
love the
and
baby
a
step.
result that's so dramatic, in fact, that after 10 or 12 baby steps, you cannot even recognize the person that's now emerged has no resemblance to the person that you started. Okay. Okay. So now I use this technique that I just described to you. I use this technique in CFF, right? Because CFF requires a fairly profound shift in consciousness, okay, in order to get people in CFF to where we really want them to be at the end, like independent, confident, self-assured, self-aware, knowing their value in the global marketplace and being able to go out and talk to people and create profitable alliances. That's huge. That's huge. 99.99999% of the people on the planet do not have that single ability. Okay. Well, that's a very tall order. So, how do we do it? Well, we do it exactly as I just explained with tiny baby steps. Okay. So baby steps so small that anyone can do them, right? So, and then they're imperceptible. You can't even tell that they're being done. Okay. But then after 3 or 4, 5 or 6, something starts feeling different. I don't know. There's something different. I don't know what it is. Okay. And then after 12, 15 of them, well, who was that person over there? I don't even know who they were, right? Anyway, you get the idea. Okay. All right. So now all of these things I'm sharing with you have relevance to another major part of life crafting, which you may not immediately make the connection, but I'm gonna give you the connection. They all relate very strongly to the promise game. Okay. That may or may not be obvious, but since neither of you have actually played the game yet, you don't have, that direct experience of playing. Okay. Well, so now I'm going to just let out the secret. Okay. A promise is not a task. A promise is a result. Okay. So you can promise doing a task all day long, every day for 20 months and not have any result to show for it. And we have places in our society like government, for example, where people get away with this crap all the time. They ask, look how hard I'm working, look how hard I'm working, but there's really no result, or the result bears no resemblance to what the intention was because there wasn't even an honest intention in the first place. So when you ask people to have an honest and to state an honest intention or to state an intention, they have to be honest. And then when you see the results they achieve, do the results measure to what they said they wanted? Okay. If we did this in government, 99% of all the corrupt individuals who are lying all the time and never have any sincere intention of accomplishing anything that benefits the people would all be gone. They'd all be gone because their whole scam and their game would be exposed right away. You see what I mean? It's that when you demand honesty and integrity at this level, all people who are dishonest just they fall by the wayside. They run away because they see, well, they can't play this game and win. So you only deceive when you can only be deceptive when and pretend when there's no clear intention or way to measure whether your results bear some resemblance. Now, if you then in the promise game, what of course people do not only is that they get honest with themselves, I mean like super honest with themselves, radically honest. but it's also very emancipating. It's also very freeing because they can let go of pretending and hoping. There's no pretending and there's no hoping. There's just the real thing. It's the result. And then you get to play and you get to assess and measure your own result in an honest way, right? Which is satisfying. I mean, which is usually satisfying. You see my point? It's satisfying because you see what's real, and then you build on what's real. You can build on that using the principle of the confidence success spiral.